Hi guys, Virginia here and I'm back with another 12 by 12 process video for you today, and this one's for the Kitaholic Kits design team using the gorgeous December kits. Now they're full of the Paige Evans whimsical collection plus an absolute ton of other stuff. I don't think I'll ever get through this kit. It's just chock-a-full. So what I've done is I'm taking on the lovely Steph's challenge of creating a layout with multiple photos. So I've gone with 3. They're photos of Edison and my little niece Eva. We went to a little farm petting zoo type thing, and there's 3 photos of them petting or looking at various animals, and I'm using one of the exclusive cut files for Kitaholic Kits this month. It's a striped heart, and what I've done is I've fussy cut an entire sheet of that floral pattern paper from the whimsical collection, and that was going to be my feature, and I've backed the hearts. I've cut it 3 times just with some vellum. I wanted to be able to tuck these flowers in and amongst the hearts and underneath it and have it showing through the hearts but not be so full on in your face. The vellum kind of mutes it, and I really like that. It adds a real softness and kind of tones down the layout. Now you're probably thinking, Virginia, you've already fussy cut this pattern paper and done it on a previous layout. I have, but I wanted to show you that you can get a really different look using these fussy cut flowers just by changing it up and making it, I guess, kind of focus on different colours. So that's what I'm doing. This one, the previous one that I did for the Paige Evans Silhouette design team was very pink focused. This one's going to be very green focused because there's a lot of green in my photos and the green grass and stuff like that. So, and the flowers just go really kind of perfectly with the, I guess, nature, outdoorsy theme of the photos. So yeah, so what I've done is, my original idea was to go in a bit of a diagonal, and that's how I'd actually lay them out in my silhouette design space. And I cut them on the pattern paper like that, but then when I added the photos, I didn't particularly like it. The photos were a bit too large. So what I've done is kind of put 2 to the top left and then 1 to the bottom right, and that's kind of giving you a bit of a visual triangle, drawing your eye around the page and drawing your eye around those photos, because those photos are really the focal point of this layout. So I've backed the hearts with some adhesive foam. I've just kind of trimmed it down and placed it sporadically around them so that they're propped up off the page. And now I'm going to work at placing those fussy cut flowers around the page. And as you can see now, it's very pink and red heavy, but I do fix that later on as I bring in other pieces like these leaves and the pattern paper at the end. So I'm just kind of placing them underneath and on top of the hearts, just kind of getting a real mix of colour around the page, making sure that it's all kind of evenly spread, and bringing in vines and leaves around the page as well. Now I'm going to start to bring in some yellow, and I'm going to make sure that that is spread around the page evenly too. Let me put some yellow up there. And I did think about creating a little cluster down this open spot down the bottom left, but I quickly decide that that's not working, and I take the flowers off eventually. I needed a bit of white space because there was a lot going on within those flowers. So yeah, so I'm still persevering, and there we go. Nope, don't like that. Okay, so I'm just bringing in some more yellow elements in the form of flowers. And I'm going to have a quick little look through the die cut pack. So I've got the die cut and the florals in here as well, and I'm wondering whether I can bring in some of those elements. We've got a few little animals in there, but quickly decide that they're not needed on the page. Those flowers are doing more than enough for me. I do, however, bring in a couple of the die cut flowers. I'm just thinking, is it too much? But then I decide, no, I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to persevere. So I'm going to glue all those pieces down. I don't make you watch it all, but I'll take you through my first heart, I guess. I'm going to glue down those large pieces first, pop them in place, and pop those leaves in underneath. And I'm only placing glue basically at the base of the leaves and just in the centre of the flower clusters. So I'm going to remove the backing of this adhesive foam, put my heart in place, and you can see that that flower's peeking through that vellum. And I'm going to put tape on the back of my photo and tuck that in. Now I didn't back my photos with pattern paper. I felt like I didn't need it. There was more than enough going on. Okay, so we skipped to and I've glued all those pieces down. My heart cut files are glued down as well. And I'm just going to go through adding basically some smaller details and bringing some colour on top of the photos and using these smaller fussy cut florals to kind of spread out amongst the page as well. I mean, I've cut them out, I may as well use them. So I'm just adding a few on the top of the corners of the photos. That just helps to kind of soften those sharp edges of the photos. Everything in this layout is rather organic and free-flowing, and those photos are very harsh. So I just want to soften some of those lines just to make them feel a bit more at home on the layout. Okay, so just continuing to add some of those smaller flowers around the page, and I'm going to quickly go through the die cut florals and pull out some blue leaves. I wanted to bring more emphasis again, like on that blue and green colours onto the layout, and I don't want any super large pieces, so I'm being very mindful of that. A little yellow flower. And I did contemplate bringing in this green one, but decided it was too large. So I'm just looking for some smaller pieces. A little green die cut leaf that I'm going to pop up there. Another green leaf, which is getting tucked over there. And here you can see it's quickly gone from a really pink and red heavy layout to it's far more balanced, but it feels like there's more green and blues going on because of all the extra leaves I've added. Okay, so this is the Kaiser Craft sticker book. It's from the Pocket Page Kit, and I'm going to pull out a few of the little word stickers from there. The colours match just about perfectly, so I'm bringing out a pink one. I'm going to pop that, I'm just going to trim it a little bit, and I'm going to pop it on one of the exclusive labels that comes in the kit, and then I'm just going to tuck that beside my photo. And I'm looking for a few more. I'm going to do one for each photo. So I'm going to use a purple one down here. And I'm going to peel that sticker off and pop it. And I ripped it. So luckily there were two sheets, so I have a repeat of this label. But funny, in the end I actually ended up covering it with an exclusive die cut word that fit perfectly. I just couldn't leave it off the layout. Okay, so just pulling off another one. I'm going to do a third one for my photo on the bottom left. And I'm just going to look for a little label. Got a blue one. I'm going to pop that in. I'm just going to trim my label down, and then we can tuck that underneath the photo there. So those labels are helping to kind of soften up those edges. I know some of them have got straight lines and corners, but it's bringing a bit of a different shape to the edge instead of just a straight rectangle, if that makes sense. A little green tab I'm going to tuck in behind this label just for another pop of colour and to break up those straight lines. Here we go. And I'm just kind of looking to see if there's anything else that I can bring on, and I realised that there were some chipboard leaves, so I'm going to pull all of them off the chipboard sticker sheet, as well as a couple of flowers that are on there. May as well make use of them. So I'm just going to tuck that yellow one to the left, a little pink one up there, and just finding all the leaves, tucking them in. They're helping to bring a different kind of texture onto the layout. Instead of just paper, it's got a bit of a glossy finish on those labels. So I'm just trying to find the right spot for them. Just layering them up amongst things. Okay, still thinking. I'm quite happy with how it's looking now. So I'm going to go and basically finish off this layout and adhere everything down. So all the chipboard pieces I'm just going to pop a bit of glue behind. All those photos I'm going to make sure the bits that are hanging off the cut file hearts are supported with some foam, and I do go ahead and just the bits of the flowers and leaves that are peeking out the sides I am going to support with a bit of adhesive foam as well, and that will prop up those ends of them, and that gives a bit of texture and dimension and creates lovely little shadows. Okay, so I've got some fussy cut flowers from one of the pattern paper, butterflies, from one of the pattern papers, and I decided to add a few with them in, but so as not to overwhelm it, I'm adding them basically in a tone-on-tone fashion. I'm trying to place them where, or the majority of them, where they are on top of a flower of a similar colour, so that they're not too overwhelming on the page, but they just add nice little bits of interest. Like if you look at the flower and you can see there's a red butterfly on it, it's just like a really nice little detail. I'm going to add those last few little fussy cut flowers, just layering them in amongst the place, just adding a bit more support under those photos and labels so nothing gets crushed. I'll continue with those little fussy cut flowers, just popping them around the page. I wasn't sure where to place this one, so I do cut a bit off so it's got a straight line, because I've got adhesive foam around those hearts, and I do just tuck it to the side. There, fits in there nicely. Just continuing. Little purple, pink, and a red one just up under there. Okay, so that's all my flowers done. So here I am just adhering a little bit of adhesive foam behind those leaves, just making sure that they're propped up off the page. Like I said, they give a lot of lovely dimension. And we've skipped through, that's all done. I'm going to add a couple of chipboard hearts, just 2 of those clusters. And I'm popping glue behind them. Okay, so I'm going to work on my title now, and it's going to be Wonderfully Wild, and I'm going to do the word wild in like the rainbow figures, and then wonderfully in the light pink, and I think that's a nice balance of colour within that title. I do start to the right hand side, but I quickly end up bringing it just left to that flower cluster so it runs up the page. But I don't make you watch me put letters down. So there we go, it's my title in place. I love that it kind of runs up the side and fills in a bit of that white space. And I'm looking at it thinking I really struggle with white background papers. I used to do them all the time, but now it feels like it's really off and it's too white and it's too light. So to kind of rectify that, I've pulled in one of the pattern papers from the Pocket Page kit. It's a lovely aqua colour, aqua green, whatever you want to call it, and I'm just going to mount it on 2 sides. I'm just trying to decide whether I want to do the top right or bottom left, and I decide bottom left. That kind of fixes that part of the layout at the bottom left where it feels very open and light and empty, but doesn't really add anything much to it, if that makes sense. Here I am with that crazy wild exclusive die cut. I found it, and it just went perfectly with the title, so I do end up covering up that label sticker and gluing it down there, but that's okay. There were a million more little label stickers in that book, so I'm not too worried. Okay, so I'm just going to trim off 1/4 inch on 2 sides of that white cardstock, and then I'm going to basically gut that green paper. I'm just going to trim it into basically an L shape that's about 1 inch wide on either side, and I'm just going to put glue around the inside edge just a little bit, and I'm going to adhere my white cardstock to it because I'm going to do a bit of stitching around the edge. It's going to bring a bit of texture and just something around the edge of the pattern paper, and if I use tape or ATG it's going to gum up my needle, so glue's the best option. So I do that off camera, but you can see that in the final shots. Lastly, just a few little sprinkles of gold Liquitex acrylic ink. I've got to bring in some gold, you know me. But after that, that's pretty much it for my layout. So I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope you're inspired to fussy cut this pattern paper out. It's a lot of fun. Creates great layouts, and you've got a couple of options now on how to use it. So until next time, bye guys.